Welcome, everyone. It is Hollywood on the Rocks on a Wednesday. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to talk about episode 3 of Ahsoka. We're going to talk about some indie films. So much to discuss. Alan Ng is going to be here. Very excited to talk to Alan. Plus, director Ray Spivey is going to be here to talk about his film Storage Locker. You will not believe what Storage Locker is actually about. So much to discuss. Let's get things going. Plus your chat questions and comments. And I'm happy you're here with us this afternoon. Let's go as I scroll to find the intro to the show so I can press the button so you can watch the intro so we can begin the show. Okay. And typical Alan. I'm going to tickle you with my lightsaber. All right. That was not what was supposed to happen. Alan. You're finally here.
Yes.
You're finally here. How's it going, man?
Good. Just making sure I had to quickly convert back to my old setup.
What happened?
I don't know. For some reason, I couldn't get the camera and the mic to connect to StreamYard, and now it does. I think you gave me a new audio setup. It's all set up. I could use it, but it's untested. So we'll do it on Friday. I'm
in the middle of redoing my setup. You can see in my background, I've got new stuff back there. I'm still in the middle of fixing all this, so we appreciate your patience while I'm doing that. But I'll have time next week to be able to really get my setup set up when we'll be talking about episode 4 of Ahsoka. Yeah. So let's see who's in the chat as we begin the show. Oh, a lot of people here. This is great. Let's see. RJP has become a YouTube member. Thank you for that. Because after the show today, 2 things. If you become a member of the channel, you get access to our Discord. So you can talk with everyone here in the chat on the Discord. You can talk to Alan and I. And also, we like to do giveaways. I love doing giveaways. So today we have a giveaway for it's the digital copy of Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. We have 2 digital copies to give away. What?
I know.
What do you mean, wow?
We spare no expense here.
Come on. Come on.
Look, I know it was better than The Little Mermaid.
So Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, 2 digital codes to give away. If you are a member on the channel, check the community tab after today's show. The codes are just up there. Whoever gets them first, early bird gets the digital code. So thank you for becoming a member. I love to give stuff away. Let's see. Robert Paul Champagne, hail Film Threat. Solomon Thornton is here. I don't have the energy to watch Ahsoka. I'll just watch the animated Clone Wars show. Well, I have the opposite. I will watch Ahsoka. I just won't watch the Clone Wars. So let me know what happens.
Yeah.
Bill S. Preston Esquire says, I didn't enjoy the MCU movies, personal taste, but I really hated the expectation that folks would watch each and every movie. Just give folks a recap. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Lord Thoth, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, sign up as a member, then join us on Discord. It says sign up as a member. No, I love it. Thank you, Lord Thoth.
I would be hypocritical if I were to criticize the mistake there.
A typo? Yeah, Alan. Alan never has typos in his stuff. MK Solid 82 says, yesterday I grasped my steering wheel and screamed out, Alan, 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 in a random outburst. You can say that anytime you want.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the Gore Rants. There might be a few today. There might be a few today. The Gore rants from last week were very intense. I needed to lay down after the show, says MK Solid 82. And then Axel's Abode says Star Wars has plateaued at such a poor standard. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Alan Horkin says Chris said he was going to Dragon Con. Is this going to be a normal length show or does it have to end early? No, normal length, but literally after I get off this live stream, I'm already packed my bags. Mike MC Wong has given me a ride to the airport and I so appreciate it. I am literally an hour after the stream ends. I am on my way to the airport.
Please say you're going to Burbank and not LAX.
I am going to LAX.
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
The worst airport in the United States is LAX.
Hey, it was built in the 50s.
It was way ahead of its time in the 50s. It has not kept up. So there you go.
Yeah.
But thank you, Alan. I will be two things I'm doing. I will be at the Pulse Bar at the Marriott on Friday night. Look for me there. I may be dressed in cosplay. On Saturday at 4, I actually have the details. I'm going to tell them to you now. I am literally joining as a panel. I am a guest of someone else on a panel. And I thought I had the details in front of me. And yes, Dragon Con panel, technique versus content, Saturday, September 2nd at 4 p.m. in panel room C at the Hyatt. I will be there. And if you didn't write it down, I will be posting that on my social media. So it's 4 p.m. technique versus content. I am a guest on the panel. It is not my panel. I will be on my best behavior. And if you believe that, we'll see how that goes. All right, JTP RX saw Chris on Nerdrotic, and it was a glorious chat on how much Ahsoka sucks. Well, we're going to get into it because I don't know what Alan thinks. I never know what Alan thinks.
I think you have a pretty good idea on this one, though.
I may have a pretty good idea. Rick B, the one thing most people don't argue is that the musical score is very Star Wars and good. The rest, it's sort of a mix of Star Wars and like a samurai film. I don't have a problem with the score. I don't think it takes anything away, but I don't know if it makes it better. We'll discuss. Eric Stratton, who's a member, Chris is searching the internet for the best lunch specials at the palaces of the ladies. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? What is this comment meant to? I don't know. Thank you, Eric Stratton. I appreciate it. Something's going to happen. Crunch that bush, Film Threat people says imperfect. Maybe I need a crunchy bush. Like, do we need a crunchy bush t-shirt? That was a question, Alan, for you.
Yes, we do. if we want to make money, like Disney wants to make money, make a crunchy bush t-shirt.
Well, I'll say this. It's August. It's the last gasp of summer. This is the last month where people are able to take vacations because they realize, oh my God, it's the fall. So there you are. So I don't know why I just said that. The Quiet Lion for 199 says, what happened to the Nooner with Gary, Chris? What happened to the Nooner? I was on the Nooner.
Yeah, you were there.
I was there. I was just not on camera. You know what I was doing? I was working. Gary knows this. I tell him, I'm like, look, man, my mornings between 9, I'm very scheduled. I'm very disciplined. Between 9 a.m. and noon, I do email and communications with people on River and whatnot, my team at Film Threat. Alan, I'm sending Alan notes and other people. And then afternoon, so that's why I'm off camera, because I'm on my couch. But I think I'm going to be on camera for the Nooner going forward. Once I get my new setup completed, I'll be on camera for the Nooner, which will be a lot of fun. But thank you, the Quiet Lion. Joe Dudna, who's a member. My wife keeps asking me where all the action is in Ahsoka. Maybe Ahsoka should really be called Star Wars, Women Talking.
Oh, you haven't seen the lead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I think that's good. It's
No,
like
I'm just saying there's plenty of action in this last episode.
well, the last episode probably had more action because it was also a shorter episode. I'm really trying to give it a chance since my daughter and I liked Rebels. Well, that's fair. It's a fair, if you liked Rebels, it's cool. Imperfect says Chris loves giveaways as much as Alan loves refrigerators. Is that true?
I love refrigerator. Oh, are you gonna?
Alan, do you love refrigerator?
I love refrigerator.
Just wanted that clip, didn't you? Imperfect.
I know. I'm like, no, he's gonna play it.
Like, all right.
Stop talking.
All
He's gonna play the clip.
Okay. Okay, wait, here we go. God, there's a lot of chatter. Almost 500 people watching. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We may or may not make it to 100,000 before the end of the year. The pace of our growth has been dramatically reduced. So
yes, thanks, writers and actors.
yeah. So we hope if you've not subscribed to the channel that you will please subscribe. RJP.
Can you imagine those sweet Dune subscriptions we would have gotten?
Oh my God, we would have made it if Dune had come out. I think I'm skeptical.
Yeah. Well, now we're gonna get Marvel subscribers and Aquaman subscribers. So.
Well, I don't know. Aquaman. I don't think Aquaman 2 is gonna come out.
I think it is.
We'll discuss.
Yeah.
RJP is a member. Hello, Chris and Alan and everyone in the chat. I'm a new member. It's great to be here. Join the Discord. There's a link in the community tab for members only. And then try to win that digital code at the end of the show. Some member chats here. John Manaling, member for 13 months. 13 months, John. Wow, I really appreciate that. That's great. Hope to run into you in public again, as we have. Looking forward to an awesome stream today, boys. I truly miss caring about Star Wars. Same. Greasy Guido, member for 10 months, says, release the Kraken. And Larry, member for 8 months. Hail DV Tuesday, Chris and Alan. More trials, please. We have a Star Trek trial that is going to be coming up. I don't know if we're going to make it before the end of the year. My thing was, if we get to 100,000 subs, we'll do the new trial. I don't know that we're going to get to 100,000 subs, Larry. But DV Tuesday, I promise DV Tuesday every Tuesday and Thursday. A new little, it's like a nugget out of my personal collection of DVDs. And I have a stack more that I can't wait to talk to you about. Unlimited Power, member for 2 months, says, I want to see the Allen's chair clip. Also, hey, Frank, you know what? Member for 2 months, guess what? The thing is, which chair clip?
Hi, Dad, I miss you.
It's not the thing now. I meant to say. It's
what can I get for you, sir?
A boob, at least one.
Great choice.
What?
That
was weird. Okay.
And
yeah, I don't know. I think all the chair clips, I think they're all gone.
And
I don't know what
she
happened.
is the first female action hero ever in a movie.
Well, look, he's 19 years old. She's 32.
Whoa!
All right. Well, thank you for that. A few more chat questions. We're gonna pivot right into Ahsoka. Thank you for the nearly 600 people watching us live. John Thomas for 10. Chris missed it on Gary's doing review on Golda. Friday we'll be discussing Golda because by then Alan will have seen Golda.
I know we reviewed it. Yeah.
Well, okay, no, we're going to discuss it on Friday. Today is Ahsoka. We're going to talk other stuff. Yeah. Friday, we're talking movies in theaters.
I'm definitely watching the Killer Sloth movie.
And Golda.
We'll see if I can get into a screening.
Okay. Was good with new info on 73 Yom Kippur War. Did you see the Ingrid Bergman movie about her? I was surprised it wasn't turned into Israel Evil. I have not seen it. Alan?
I have not seen it either. Nope.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Eric Stratton says Chris is going to Atlanta for the Palaces of Ladies. Wait, I think I already said that. It's great. One of the best. I don't know if they still do this party. I have not been to Dragon Con since all the way since 2019, August, September 2019. So Labor Day weekend. I've not been there. But it's really fun. There's the ABC. Let me tell you what happens at Dragon Con. There's all these hotel room parties. One of the best hotel room parties is called the ABC party. ABC stands for anything but clothes. So you can't go to the party naked, but you have to be wearing something. So anything but clothes. I saw a woman made a dress out of ramen packaging, Top Ramen. Someone else, another woman and a young couple, were wrapped in caution tape. It's very creative, that party. So there you go. And then there is a rave that goes all night. I don't know if they still do this. Again, I haven't been there since 2019. One of the best parties is Saturday night. It's called the Last Night on Alderaan. It's a rave that goes till 6 a.m. And you're going to find me in quite a state there. But thank you, John Thomas, for your super chat here. Couple Rumble chats. We'll get through it. Rumble, $8.24. Always like to see you. Toronto's airport is so much worse right now than LAX, although LAX is the worst in the U.S. Yes, LAX takes the prize for the worst in the United States. It's a terrible airport. I can't stand it.
Yes. Like if you fly out of LAX, you should show up the night before.
Right. I'm getting there 3 hours early, and I may not have enough time.
Oh, I almost missed a flight out of there. But granted, that was right after 9/11. So
yeah. Rose, Bone Saw is ready. Bone Saw is ready. That's my Bone Saw imitation. I remember liking her in Sin City, but this show makes me think I was mistaken to like her. No, Rosario Dawson, I think, is a really good actress. I think you have a director that doesn't know how to direct actors in live action. I think it's the directing and the script. Gary and I discussed it, and that to me is what stood out as the weak parts. The actors, I like the actress who plays Sabine. I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera. I like the actresses in this show. They're not good in this show. They're
given nothing.
Yeah. Well, we're almost there, folks. Rumble, $8.24. Yes, we need a crunchy t-shirt, a crunchy shirt, like Crunchy Bush shirt. You could do that. And Terry, not a tiger. We need an Alan Con. Alan Con.
Yeah, we do.
Like, what do you mean? Like something involving Alan? Do an Alan Con. What?
I can't believe that's a clip.
Well, it's. One had to hurt. Am I wrong? Did that one hurt?
That one hurt. But if you land flat on your back, it spreads out the force of the impact.
All right. Okay. We have 3 chats in a row from someone I will call a friend named Lofty Pixels, who is in our chat now. So here we go. Because we met in person at Anime Matsuri, and what I like about Lofty is that he has a sense of humor about himself. Or I'm not sure. Could be they self. I don't know, Lofty. We never clarified. But Lofty Pixels says, you guys should review The Killer and Flower Moon, please. Yes, 100% that is going to happen. And goes on to say, I can't participate in the Star Trek trial. I've only seen Wrath of Khan. Well, you'll be perfect on the defense. You'll be great. And Lofty goes on to say, Ingrid is great in Notorious. No debate there. One final comment here from Flav, who's been a member for 1 month. A month already? Blimey. Well, thank you for your membership. We do appreciate it. Members get access to our Discord. They get to participate in giveaways. I'm doing a thing only for members in celebration. I have a birthday coming up next week, and people are already bothering me about it. I'm not doing a birthday stream, as many YouTubers are wont to do. I won't be doing a birthday stream, but I will be doing a giveaway to our members in celebration. You know what? I'm weird about receiving gifts from people. There's something about it that's uncomfortable, but I love to give things to people. I love to give things to people almost as much as Alan loves refrigerator.
Alan, do you love refrigerator?
I love refrigerator.
All right, let's get to it. Episode 3 of Ahsoka is here.
Yeah, so we're gonna bring everything down and we're gonna talk about Ahsoka.
And we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna hold your comments to the end, and we will be talking spoilers, but you will be warned about Ahsoka. So here we go.
Oh no, dear. Do not play with matches. You might hurt yourself. Here, play with a saber. It's much safer.
You look good in a Jedi robe, Alan.
That's pretty cool.
You look good.
I've done the Jedi room before.
All right, let's talk about Ahsoka episode 3. Alan, give us the brief summary. And there's not much to say when it comes to the brief summary.
Yeah, so Ahsoka and Sabine hop on a ship to track down Thrawn. They try to sneak up on them. They do everything a Jedi would do to sneak up on them, but they get caught anyways. And no one in the Republic wants to help them. So there you go. That's episode 3, and it's only 35 minutes, so it's a quick view.
Well, if you deduct the credits and the intro recap, it's 32 minutes. It's a 32-minute episode, so much shorter than the 2 opening episodes.
Yeah. And oh boy, that cliffhanger! I tell you.
You thought that was a cliffhanger? It didn't feel like
no.
much.
That's my point. I'm being hold on. Well, I'm being sarcastic. Disney doesn't know how to do television. They definitely don't know how to do cliffhangers.
They don't know how to do television, and they don't know how to do. I think this may be the one that convinces me. I'm not sure they know how to do Star Wars. I tweeted earlier today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did spoil the whole episode. Sorry.
Is that the whole episode being spoiled?
I mean, in theory, yes. But okay, look, they had one good cliffhanger, and that was Sabine getting jabbed in the stomach at the end of the first episode, left for dead.
Right, and then we've discussed now not only the emasculation of the legacy characters from Star Wars. You're looking at the emasculation of, an elegant weapon from a more civilized age. A lightsaber wound is meaningless. There are plenty of montages that you can find on social media or on YouTube of people getting stabbed with lightsabers. It used to be that every episode of Star Wars under George Lucas, and I tweeted out today from my personal Twitter feed at that Chris Gore, because that represents me. Film Threat doesn't necessarily represent me per se. Film Threat represents many voices, right?
I like to think we represent the independent film community.
Right. Film Threat represents.
So we manage what we publish on the Film Threat site.
Right. But when it comes to what I say on my personal Twitter feed is up to me. I said George Lucas made making Star Wars look easy. Not easy. Not just keeping the lore correct, but also there are certain things, if you've got this weapon that can chop off arms and legs and heads, we have not seen chopping off of anything in Disney Star Wars. We've seen some stabbings, but effectively what they've done is they've emasculated the very weapon that made Star Wars so unique and cool. And so that was, That was last week. And it's ridiculous now where it's just taken away all tension.
Yeah.
It's taken away so much of the tension. And part of it might be, you said that like Lucasfilm or Disney can't do TV. I would say this. I would say that Star Wars was never a property that made good TV.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars is an event that makes for great, epic films that are meaningful, that you could talk about for years. Yeah. And the transition to television has made Star Wars less special. I was comparing it on the Nerdrotic Nooner with Gary. I said, it's kind of like the MLB versus the NFL. Now, I'm sorry to make a sports analogy for the people watching. I know it's a nerd show, but I know the sports. I know sports ball. They play a lot of games in baseball. Mm-hmm. So if you lose a game here, you lose a series here, you lose a game here, it doesn't really matter. By the end of the season, it's like, are you over 500 or whatever? Are you over 50? Have you won more than 50%?
Did you win more games than everyone else? Yes.
Did you win more games than everyone? Did you win more than 50% of your games probably going to the playoffs? Probably. Okay. But in the NFL, you don't play as many games. What do you play? 17 games in the regular season? 17 games, that every game matters. And that's the same thing with film. A TV show, you can have, people even talk about it. There's throwaway episodes. Oh, that was just a throwaway episode. But you can't have a throwaway episode when the series is only, 6-8 episodes? There are 8 episodes of Ahsoka. Every episode should really be meaningful. So this is really frustrating for me. That it just seems like this was another throwaway episode, a barely moving things forward. And again, it's the difference between TV and film. TV, you can have 8 episodes of something and a couple of the episodes will be not great. And then there'll be 1 or 2 great episodes. I really think when it comes to television, it's how you begin and it's how you end. Not a great beginning, kind of a soft beginning. And also not a great, I don't know what we're going to do with this ending, because here's my prediction. Can I predict something right now?
Okay.
The ending will not be an ending. The ending will be the introduction of Thrawn as a threat, because they're going to hold the big conflict to the movie that Dave Filoni is supposed to make. That's my prediction of what's going to happen.
Well, don't forget the Acolyte comes after this.
But the Acolyte is a prequel, from my understanding.
Yeah, which is, again, another one of my frustrations with we keep jumping timelines constantly. And so I'm completely confused every time I turn this thing on. But I need to add something to what you're saying.
Sure.
Here's my conclusion coming out of Ahsoka chapter 3, episode 3. Disney Star Wars is not for us anymore. You know, there's a clear distinction between Lucas Star Wars and Disney Star Wars. And it's clear that Disney Star Wars is casting away as much of Lucas Star Wars as possible and trying to build a brand new audience from there. And we Lucas fans are clearly not welcome. And I'll give you a couple examples. This episode, if anything, pointed out to me that they are taking iconic moments of the original Star Wars and redoing it for Disney Star Wars. For example, the Force training, the lightsaber training, where she puts the blast shield on. You know, iconic moment from episode 4, from A New Hope, and they made it the Disney way. The battle through the dogfight battle in the middle of the episode. Well, that's also from Star Wars. And they did it their way. The discussion of the Force, or the lack of a discussion of the Force, that was brought up in the original, is now being redone the Disney Star Wars way. And then the last one, the final battle, the final planet they go to with the whales. I mean, that's Dagobah. You might as well call it Dagobah at that moment. And so, so they're clearly just saying, look, everything you loved about George Lucas, we're just gonna redo it our way, and you can have your old Star Wars, but it's time to move on with new Disney Star Wars. And if you want to come along for the ride, you can. If not, just jump off, stop talking, and enjoy the old stuff, which you can get on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just, it's just sort of sad because we have seen this done better. Terry Metalis' Picard season 3. I know I brought it up several times. I love what he did. He honored the legacy characters. He brought on new characters. He introduced a lot of interesting ideas, but wasn't too preachy.
But let's admit that's old Star Trek. That's not new Star Trek.
Correct.
Terry Metalis was the anomaly because it was for old Star Trek fans. It's kind of like their way of saying, hey, thanks for coming along the ride and building up this franchise, but you're no longer needed. So here's your gift, and now move on, and let's get back to new Star Trek.
Right. Well, look, here are the key takeaways for me, and I'm going to get into a rant because something it's so simple, and when I point it out, you can't unsee it. I'll get to that with my gory details rant here. I don't know. Or is that what I'm calling it?
Unless you have a new animation for it, or are we?
No, not a new. Well, maybe. So look, a couple key takeaways. One, much of what happened in this episode doesn't matter. Another takeaway is, and I'm gonna repeat something that Paul Chato said. So you can call him sexist for having said this, but I actually agree with what he said. He says women do not do as well gravitas. And there are a lot of actresses who are capable of this, but none of the actresses that we've seen in this show have brought a gravitas to it. What is gravitas? Where an actor can literally be reading the phone book and you are riveted with what they're saying. There are certain actors who can do that. Samuel L. Jackson can do that. Alec Guinness, one of the best moments in the original Star Wars movie is where Alec Guinness tells you what the Force is. There are no special effects. They're just sitting in a room talking. Why is it that this speech about what the Force is so powerful? We haven't heard anything from any actor in all of the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka that would lead you to believe that there'd be any sense of gravitas. But the thing is that all comes down to casting actors. And I will just say, I feel like male actors are much better at doing this. Original Star Wars film, the first and Empire Strikes Back, whatnot, the first trilogy was shot in England, right, at Pinewood Studios, and they just hired local British actors, but they were like such seasoned actors, even someone in such a minor role like General Dodonna. Okay, I know that over the 1,000 of you watching right now know who that is. Like, they deliver a line. These are grizzled old men that are telling you something. You don't have to even be older to be able to have a sense of gravitas. There are actors that have this, but this is completely lacking in gravitas. Ray Stevenson, we've seen him capable of doing it. I mean, he's really great in RRR. He hasn't been given too many. I think he's very good in this, but as Baylan Skoll, but I don't think he's really been given a lot to work with dialogue-wise.
Yeah, he's the bad guy, and he's there to look like a bad guy.
Well, he fulfilled that role.
Yeah, I mean, Rosario Dawson does try to teach the Force in this episode, but
she's so flat. She's so flat.
And part of it has to do with the dialogue she's given. The words she is forced to say nothing, and that's the problem. And as much as I mean, I would question if any good actor could have taken those lines, these very weak and bland and general lines, and make it sound great. I don't think Alec Guinness could have even taken that dialogue and done that. Well,
okay, so a couple of other things. One of the most interesting things that happens is there's a dogfight in space. It rhymes. It's very reflective, or as George Lucas would say, it rhymes with the TIE fighter attack on the Millennium Falcon in the original Star Wars. You've got these starships that are attacking Ahsoka's ship, and Sabine is there taking them out, and they have this kind of witty banter. Hey, It ain't no Han and Luke. They did their best to copy it, but like everything else in Star Wars is a copy of the Star Wars that came before it. And the original Star Wars was influenced by everything in cinema that came before it. Star Wars was influenced by serials of the 1930s, like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon starring Buster Crabbe. And I watched all those. I watched those as a kid. The opening crawl of Star Wars is taken from Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe. George Lucas just lifted this concept. It was, and you see the influences. Darth Vader is very reminiscent of Doctor Doom, and that's fine. It's George Lucas threw all these things in a blender, put it on puree, and came up with something original, which was Star Wars. Star Wars was also influenced by Westerns and samurai films, but I would be surprised if the majority of creators involved in Ahsoka didn't know the source material well. And the source material is what influenced George Lucas. George Lucas, who had a catastrophic accident that nearly killed him. He was an aimless, directionless teenager racing cars and got into a car accident where he should have died and spent most of the rest of high school in, recovering from these injuries. It changed his life. It made him get serious. It made him think about his future and what he should be doing. He had conflicts with his father over, you're racing these cars. You're wasting your life away. He got serious. He went to film school. He was mentored by Francis Ford Coppola. He made a little mini documentary about Francis Ford Coppola. He made these bizarre experimental films. You can find George Lucas's experimental films and you see the seeds of Star Wars in there. She was just sort of playing with feelings and whatnot. And THX 1138, the original, is quite brilliant and ahead of its time. It's more relevant now than when it first came out. It's very much his take on Brave New World, right? Or 1984. So revisit THX 1138. And by the way, American Graffiti is coming back to theaters. I believe it might even be today. Look up Fathom Events and check out American Graffiti. You can see where the seeds of Lucas's influence are. But my major point is the people currently making Star Wars are completely unaware of what led to George Lucas making Star Wars. And in addition to his pop culture knowledge, Flash Gordon serials, Marvel comic books, movies like Forbidden Planet or 2001: A Space Odyssey. You could go through all the things that influenced George Lucas to get to coming up with Star Wars. And the book I'm going to recommend, I know I've recommended it before, The Secret History of Star Wars. Read that book. Better yet, don't read it. Listen to the audiobook. The audiobook is like, it's more than like 24 hours or something. I've listened to it. The guy who reads it does all the voices. He does the voices of Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Gary Kurtz, Lawrence Kasdan, Irvin Kershner. Great book. You will learn more about Star Wars from that one book. It's like taking a master class in Star Wars. I think I'm even quoted in that book. I did an interview with Gary Kurtz years ago, and part of that interview was quoted in the book. In any case, so many influences, but when you see the people making Star Wars now, they just know about the last Star Wars. So that's sort of my takeaway. The other thing is just the things that happen that are kind of dumb. A sequence that I thought had potential. The ship is dead in the water. They've got no power. They're sitting there in space. They're a sitting duck. Ahsoka bravely goes out with her lightsaber in an astronaut costume that form fits perfectly to her bizarre. Does anyone know in the chat exactly what the purpose of her? I know it's sort of some Egyptian influenced headdress.
Her headpiece, you're saying? Yeah.
Or the headpiece, which is a functional physical thing. I don't know. I don't know. But the fact that I laughed when I saw it, I thought it was so ridiculous. I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I laughed. So many things just stood out to me. We're doing broad strokes now. We're going to get into spoilers after I do a rant. Alan, what are your broad strokes thoughts on all of this?
Yeah. Look, I'm just looking at my notes here to make sure I do the ones that don't spoilers in it. But I think, honestly, like I said, when I walked away with this, two things came to mind. One was that Disney Star Wars isn't for us old people anymore. And then second, I feel bad for the storytelling that this current generation is getting. The way this story is being told is, it reminds me of a comment I made back with Kenobi. It's as if someone had just taken their Star Wars toys, went out in the backyard and wrote an entire series. And I feel this exactly the same way. Because nothing is special in this show. Nothing is special in Star Wars anymore. And anyone can write it now. And anyone is writing it right now. There's just no excellence. There's no nuance. There's no creativity. There's just, and the upside on this is the people who wrote this, whoever was in the writer's room, they're on strike, not working right now. So, so there's an upside to this strike if there's anything.
I guess I just think it just makes me miss George Lucas.
Yeah.
I think we may have been too tough on him when it came to the prequels.
Yeah.
Honestly. So there you go. Bottom line is Ahsoka episode 3, it's not getting better. Barely anything happens. They're kind of changing the Force now into whoever just believes in it can just do it. I don't mind that. I think there should be people that are predisposed to be more talented in the Force.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to
everyone has it. Everyone has the Force.
Everyone has the Force now.
Yeah. No one gets killed by a lightsaber. It's like, it's not special. It's not.
Well, if everyone is special, no one is special.
Yeah.
And I believe, I'm predicting it now, that this series is going to end in a way that I'm not going to say it'll be directly a cliffhanger, but it will not be, the conflicts that are created in this series will not be concluded. We will be introduced to Grand Admiral Thrawn. That I'm convinced, because we've seen footage of Grand Admiral Thrawn in some of the teasers for Ahsoka. We've seen,
and he's been cast already. So he's
been cast.
Yeah.
We're going to see Thrawn. We're going to get to Thrawn, but he won't be defeated. With this series, and first of all, I'm even annoyed with the fact that they're not even creative with the names of things. I mean, the movie about Han Solo is called Solo. The series about Ahsoka is called Ahsoka. The series, the Boba Fett is called Boba Fett. The series about Obi-Wan Kenobi is called Obi-Wan Kenobi. Could you be less inspired? Probably one of the best titles. The Empire Strikes Back, great title. Revenge of the Sith, great title. Star Wars used to have these titles. It is, the marketing for these shows is uninspired. So, Ahsoka episode 3, not getting better. We're going to get into spoilers, and I have a rant after we check in with your comments and questions. So let's go to your comments and questions on a break here, because there are a lot of them. Yeah. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're going to start with super chats from the bottom here. Graph Web for 2. For God's sake, cancel Disney Plus. Yeah, my Disney Plus renewed accidentally when I didn't turn off the auto renew. So I have it, I think, through the end of September, because it auto renewed for a year because I forgot to cancel it. So you got to go into your settings and make sure if you're going to cancel, do it. Fletcher Williams. Hey, Fletcher, I suck at games channel. Star Cartwheels for the win. Disney. And for 199. Thank you for that. Boogers Taste Salty for 5. That name is interesting. Do you remember it was a game for, I think it was all platforms. Booger Man. Look up Booger Man. Platform game from the 90s.
Yeah, I missed that.
So Disney taking the most successful film franchise and changing everything about it. It's like buying Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and making the menu vegan. Boy, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Suns and Shadows member for a month says gravitas equals Bryan Cranston promo of AI Breaking Bad. Yeah, I love like Bryan Cranston. He has gravitas. Gravitas is, you know it when you see it. Not every actor can do it. And it is mostly male actors that are capable of it. And there's a sad lack of male energy in Ahsoka. Alexander McGill for £5. Thank you so much. When Ahsoka appeared in her spacesuit, my 13-year-old son burst out laughing. Look, it's Finn, the human grannies. They should call it filler time. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Alexander. You got a good kid there. Mr. Buttcrack Media member for 6 months says, hail Chris and Alan and the chat. Thank you for that. Starting from the top, Justin's, I missed one. Apologies, Justin. We'll come back to you.
There's a Rumble. There's a Rumble one as well.
I'll get there.
Okay.
Ministry of Wrong Think for 199. D+, jaked the most iconic weapon in cinema history. Oh, wow. Jaked.
No, I think it means jacked.
No. I think he means jaked. Because Jake Skywalker is like the emasculation. He's not really Luke Skywalker. He's Jake Skywalker. So jaked, using jaked as a verb.
I thought you meant the original Anakin.
No. I know what jaked means. Okay. Ministry of Wrong Think. Thank you for 199. Thank you for that. Yeah, you jaked it. Jaked is a term.
Okay.
Maybe like
I'm being corrected in the chat. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So
maybe
jaked
like
is the term. Okay.
It's sort of like if you go to kick a ball and you miss the ball, you rapinoed the ball. You rapinoed, like, oh, I totally rapinoed that. If the chat, maybe the chat knows what I'm talking about. Maybe they don't.
No, the chat, chat's all over me.
Rapinoed. Right, it's all good, man. Holding his cock. Let me do that again. Holding his cock for 69. All right, now you got a clean clip of that. What bugs me you got me. What bugs me the most about Ahsoka is I can already tell by the last episode there will be a half-decent 90-minute movie buried in there somewhere. There will be an editor, and if you want to learn editing software, this is a great way to go. You could have taken the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, cut it to an action-packed 30-minute episode from the first 2, where it's just like moves. You know what it's missing? The direction, faster, more intense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Gary had a good idea. They should have taken the last, I guess, the climactic moments of Rebels and made that live action, and then put it right at the beginning of the first episode.
I've heard of people say that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, they should have at least show us. They keep talking about events none of us have seen. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter to me. I didn't see it happen.
They still won't talk.
I saw Obi-Wan Kenobi sliced with a lightsaber and poof out of existence from this mortal coil. I felt that. I didn't see anything that they're talking about. And you can catch people up. That's fine. But it would have been more meaningful had they shown it. James Jennings just became a YouTube member. Remember to check after the stream. We do giveaways to our members. So you get access to our Discord. You can talk to Alan and I and everyone who's a member in the chat on our Discord. And we do regularly do giveaways of digital copies of movies. There's going to be a giveaway right after the stream for members only. Thank you, James. Pilgrim Media for 2. Are Ahsoka writers real hacks? Seriously. I don't know. I think that it's also, a lot of it is cartoon. It's just, it feels like a cartoon.
I don't know. It seems like the cartoons are better. I mean, Dave Filoni is not a good writer.
I mean, I think it was good for the animation. It was fine. But I don't consider the animation. As a Star Wars fan, I only ever cared about the movies. Mm-hmm. I would see like Rebels. I watched the first season. I said, well, this is for children. It's fine. It's just not for me. And it didn't bother me. I didn't hate it. I was just like, it's not for me. JJ Chili Dogs for 199. Why does Ahsoka look like a big toy commercial? Maybe because it is. I think we already got that one. Oh, sorry, already got
Okay,
that one.
there's 2 Rumble Rants.
Where are they?
They're starred. Look
Okay,
for,
I'll look for the Rumble Rants. Here we go.
Yeah,
The
there
first
it is.
one. The Nether supporter for 5. Apparently, Rebel Moon was pitched as a Star Wars film. Thank God they turned it down. I think Rebel Moon looks fine. I saw the trailer. It didn't blow me away. It looks a little too digitally. But
Okay.
you know.
Here's the other one.
Okay. And then Matt G. Hammond, supporter for 50. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
50. I can't do it. Like, shout out to Beardo. I can't do the 50 like everybody else does. I want Chris to send the based dude that got in trouble with school admin because he wore a Gadsden flag flare, a signed Blu-ray of Attack of the Dock with a note. Real quick, you know about this kid who wore a patch on his backpack that said, "Don't tread on me," which is from the Revolutionary War. It was in response to the British. I know this because I learned history. And "Don't tread on me" was something that colonial Americans said to the British. And thank you, Matt G. Hammond, for that. I love when I watched that kid in the video footage who was being reprimanded by a teacher. The teacher and or administrator from the school district was explaining to the mother of the child, who also had her young baby with her and her son in a conference, why he can't have the backpack. Well, the backpack's covered with patches, just stuff that the kid likes. And one of the patches says, "Don't tread on me." And one, it made me angry. I was so angry watching it because it reminded me of myself in school. It should not surprise you to learn that when I was in school, even as a young kid, I was a smartass and a jackass. And I got in trouble all the time. Never for any sort of physical, because I was like a lot of nerds. I was kind of small for my age. I had a big growth spurt in high school and, whatnot. But when I was a little kid, and I was into nerdy stuff and I liked comic books and Star Trek and Batman, Adam West series and Ultraman and Johnny Sacco and his giant role. I was a kid. I was a nerdy kid, but it bothered me. God, it just used to bug me sometimes. I remember getting in a debate with a teacher once explaining that what she just said was technically impossible because of how time works. And I got sent to the office. Among other things, like I just was a smartass. Plus, I was a reader. I was constantly reading books, and I was just recreationally reading a lot of books and science fiction, comic books. But I was always getting in trouble because I talked back to the teachers. Because sometimes they'd say shit that I was like, "You just said something that's very stupid. Let me explain." So I was a I don't watch this show. Would I be a Sheldon from that show I don't watch?
I was gonna say Third Rock in the Sun. Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I don't watch that show. But I was a smart ass kid. So when I'm looking at this kid, I'm smirking. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's me. That was me." And so that really upset me. Later, it turned out there's a photo that was posted online with the kid with his backpack and one of the teachers, the backs of their car covered in stickers, all with political causes. But they targeted this kid to bully and humiliate him and tell him not to do something. And do you know what that makes me want to do? Makes me want to do it more. It just, when I see something like that happen, you know what it makes me want to do? This makes me want to do it more.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're trying to break him down so that he follows the message.
Right.
That was me. By the way, it got cut off. So,
oh, sorry, Matthew Hammond. It cut off my rant. The note would say that these people took this from you. Yeah, I even tweeted something out about Pizza Hut, and yeah, I'm tired of this nonsense. I can't stand these people. They're morons. And I'm not going to let these moronic parrots ruin society. Push back, fight against idiocracy that is, infecting our society. Fight back. and point it out. And the fact that that went away quickly and the kid can now take his backpack, you know what? If you can have all these other patches and bumper stickers on your car, let this kid do what he wants. As long as it's not overtly offensive or, you know, perhaps of a sexual nature or some expletive, fine.
Yeah. No, it's just history. He just had a bit of history on his backpack.
What does that tell you? Yeah, pissed off. Back to Ahsoka.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Matthew Hammond. I see you on a lot of streams, and you always add to the conversation. You're very generous. I just want to say thank you to Matthew Hammond. I see you. I see you. MK Solid 82 for 499. Chris, I rewatched the movie Sleepers, a story about child abuse and the tortured souls of 4 straight men. It was masterful, and today is a clown show. Absolutely. I'm really curious how many movies from the past would even pass muster now. Comedies and whatnot. That's a subject for another stream.
Why am I thinking of the Woody Allen movie?
Because I also thought of the Woody Allen movie.
I'm like, I don't remember that part in there.
2 pounds from Benson's. So now anyone and their dog can be a Jedi.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anyone and their dog can be a Jedi.
Now, did you notice how many times did they mention the Force in this episode?
Did they overtly reference the Force?
She mentioned it one time. And that was in the training session. She mentioned the Force. And guess what phrase has never been said in a Disney Star Wars television show?
I want to hear it.
May the Force be with you.
Which has its roots in kind of religion and Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes me think why it's not there. I mean, you know, even during the Great War, they would always let you, you know, you go off to battle and they would encourage you by saying, may the Force be with you. They do not do that in the series. They do that. I can't. I'm sure there was a time someone said it in Disney Star Wars. I just can't think of it. Remember.
The Force itself is rooted in religion. George Lucas has spoken about this. George Lucas borrowed from many different religions in order to create the concept of the Force. So speaking of the Force. Show off that tattoo often.
Yeah, I know.
But I do appreciate it. Back to your comments here, and then I have a rant that I've been keeping in the back of my head that I just got to get out. So there you go. I'm going to start from the top, folks, and thank you for your patience. This is there's over 1,400 of you watching live. Please, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We really do appreciate it.
Oh, wow.
Spidey Sensei 72 says, if Star Wars lightsaber battles are based off of samurai duels, why do they take so long? Doesn't seem like they are trying to kill each other. Just bang sabers together. I.e., watch any of the lightsaber battles in the sequel trilogy. They are all meaningless. The most boring was in, The Rise of Skywalker. Worst lightsaber duels. Some of the best lightsaber duels, honestly, are in the prequels. Unbelievable. And I really loved, if you look at the behind the scenes of Revenge of the Sith, you'll see, Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor talking about how they just really wanted to go for it. It looks like they're thrusting those lightsabers so hard at each other that if they miss, they're going to hit each other badly.
Or you can get burned at least.
Well, no, I mean, like, just in rehearsals, I'm talking about.
Oh, okay,
so look at the behind the scenes for Revenge of the Sith. Really amazing. But Spidey Sensei 72, absolutely. Prequel saber duels were dance fighting, says Thomas Tulek. I disagree. There were consequences. Count Dooku got his head chopped off. Anakin lost an arm, then an arm and 2 legs. Mace Windu chopped off Jango Fett's head. That's not dance. Dance fighting is Disney Star Wars. Dance fighting is Disney Star Wars. Lucas understood there need to be consequences. Otherwise, the weapon is meaningless. They have made lightsabers meaningless.
Yeah. By the way, the Dooku Yoda fight, you know, just the uniqueness of that fight in and of itself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was not choreography.
Yeah. Blue Cheer says, I watched episode 4, amazing, and how far from the original premise they have gotten. Old people, young people, good people can work together to defeat evil, and it's worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Film Threat, these same people took this from us too, says Film Threat. Well,
Oh, that was the second part of Matthew Hammond's.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Continuing on, just 15 more, because I like to talk to you. And then I got to do a rant, and we're going to continue. Lightsabers can only slice cheese and bread now. It's basically the Star Wars Galaxy equivalent of a butter knife or the Ginsu knife, says Justin C. Mattuine, who's a member, phallic symbols cannot hurt strong women characters. Yeah, it's interesting that only female characters penetrated by the phallic lightsaber survived to tell about it. The new lightsabers now have a vibrator feature, says Grizzled Entertainment. Lord Thoth. Hey, Lord Thoth. Women are beautiful, sexy, and eye-catching. Men have gravitas, charm, and presence. I would agree.
You haven't seen Golda yet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is it's like not all. This isn't something you could just say, across the board about all women. I'm saying for the most part, these rules are not 100%. Okay. Huang's lines were the best, says Mattuine. Aaron Rosenfeld says, I'm not only burned out on Star Wars, I'm burned out on complaining about Star Wars. Maybe, but I like to talk. I feel like part of it is we're reviewing it and discussing it. Part of this is therapy in a way. Mm-hmm. It's us processing how we feel about this thing that changed so many lives.
Yeah. I want to feel like we're saying something different. We don't always succeed in doing that, but I think our perspective, I like to think our perspectives are unique compared to everything else.
When Ryan Johnson set the bar with forced space flying and weaponizing hyperspeed, nothing absurd in Star Wars now should be surprising. It's now law, says Rodney McKay. Mike Dude says, this episode is so much like George Lucas Star Wars. What are you even talking about?
Yeah, Mike Dude likes Ahsoka.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
First of all, I appreciate that someone is enjoying it. I did think that I was curious how because we've never seen a Jedi in a spacesuit go out on the hull of a starship. So, Mike, dude, that's cool. Hope you continue to watch and comment. Not going to shame people who like it. I can only tell you what I think. Alan can only tell you what he thinks, and I appreciate a diversity. So thank you, Mike, dude.
I mean, I'll say this: for all intended purposes, this should be better. It should be a lot better. If they had taken the Lucas model and evolved it, that's fine. But I just wish they had done that, because we should be getting better stories from this than we are.
Yeah. All right. Continuing on. Fillmore Pocket says actors back then were better. Sorry, but currently it's not a single male or female actor under 50 years old with gravitas anywhere in Hollywood. Bingo. Yeah, there is a profound lack of gravitas, and I think it comes from living a bit of life. If you've lived some life, you've seen some things, if you have struggled in your life, it shows up, and you can tap that as a resource. And you are correct in that. And having seen Equalizer 3, which we'll talk about on Friday, Denzel Washington's got some gravitas.
Yeah.
Boy, does he
let's just say there's a character with gravitas and there's a character without gravitas.
Yes. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you for more pockets.
We'll talk about it Friday.
Patrick Lemire, shit part 6. Mike, dude, George hasn't trained Dave in a while. Yeah, but George visits the set of the shows occasionally and talks with Dave. Pretty sure he gives a little input as well. Well, I would like to think that. I wish that he had more influence on the sequels. Alan Horkin, Chris needs to start another channel and call it Sports Ball Threat. We could do Sports Threat. We could do it. You really Allened that name, says Patrick S. So there you go. All right, just a few more. Henry Cavill has gravitas. I would agree, says hashtag Phone Punk.
Yeah, he should have been a better Superman. He just wasn't given the right stuff.
It was the script.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's the script. He did the best he could. Jurassic 4x4, who's a member for 10. Will the new hyperdrive loop let them go to plaid? We'll see. My feeling is it allows like a bunch of ships to come through at once. That's what it's about.
No, I
An
think
Armada is going to come through.
Okay, well, if it's like in the video game, I believe it actually it propels a ship faster than it really can go.
Oh, really? Is that what it is? That's what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk a lot about the dogfight sequence and how it tried to be like the video games,
right?
And how a lot of the strategies veered off. I mean, if you're playing Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Squadron, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, I mean, you know how to do a dogfight in these movies, and they just for some reason did not do it.
All right, just a few more. I got to get to a rant, and then we're going to continue on spoilers. Wild Hunter for £5. What about the best scripted, best acted show currently running? I am, of course, talking about Bruce Lee's Warrior. You guys should do a review. Alan?
Yes, I've not seen the current season. It just came out a couple weeks ago. But I binged Warrior during COVID, and I will agree, it is a great series. I absolutely love the series.
Well,
I'm not sure Bruce Lee was a part of it, though.
I will say this. I've read a book about Bruce Lee, seen documentaries. I just got to Enter the Dragon in 4K. I know we gave away some codes for that. I was surprised how much Enter the Dragon had like nudity and violence was kind of crazy. And guess what? It was very diverse and it was made in the 70s. But yeah, Warrior, that's a good idea. We should do that. Thank you, Wild Hunter, for your £5 and suggestion. Benson's for £2. Lightsaber injuries sponsored by Elastoplast. And Just Nova 1138 for $4.99. Another issue with Disney Star Wars is using celebrities. What? Jack Black and Lizzo were perfectly cast.
I know, that was awesome.
They had such gravitas.
I know.
It was awesome.
Like, you saw how Baby Yoda just kind of gravitated toward Lizzo in a, yeah.
Oh my God, it was so dumb. They look just like cosplayers. George knew that story was important, not ships, costumes, etc. Yeah, casting, when you cast a known actor in a part, it can kind of take you out of it. I prefer that Star Wars was, for the most part, at the time that Star Wars came out, the most famous person in Star Wars was Alec Guinness. And he looked very different than he'd looked in other films previous.
So even Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson, it wasn't a typical Samuel L. Jackson role.
Right. CD Stein 69 says, no, Chris, that's gravity, not gravitas.
You talking about Lizzo?
Thank you. Yeah. Oh no. Yes, I think that's what he meant. But you know what? I need to rant about something. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to point out something that you may not have noticed until I point it out to you. You can't unsee it.
A freaking IKEA chair.
All right, let's discuss it. Something that bothers me now watching Ahsoka that stands out, and this is true of a lot of the Disney Plus series, and when I point it out to you, you will not be able to unsee it. But here it is. It's a technique that was used previously on commercial television. We're talking about the big three networks, right? When you're making commercial television and you have a 1 hour show, the show is not 1 hour. The show is an hour block of time sprinkled with approximately 12 minutes of commercials so that the program itself is about 48 minutes. Now, what do? Right? You're a director, you're directing an episode of, say, The X-Files or another television show. It's a 1 hour show, and you have to hit that exactly 48-minute mark. You've got a script. What do? You include what you call garbage time. What is garbage time? Garbage time is when you're directing one of those episodes of television, you would include a scene where, say, Scully and Mulder pull up to a house. Maybe they have 1 or 2 lines of dialogue. They get out of their car. They exit the vehicle. They walk up to the porch. They walk up the stairs of the porch. They knock on the door. Someone opens the door, and they begin an exchange where something happens. Okay? So what that is called is garbage time. So when the editor goes to edit the show, you can literally cut out all of that and just cut to the conversation on the porch. We, in our heads, have already assumed that they have traveled by car, that they've walked up the steps, that they've knocked on the door, and they're now talking to someone that they're interrogating, questioning, whatever. Garbage time. It was something that directors included when they would make series. We need an establishing shot. We need them to walk up to the house to establish. An editor can choose to include these things or not. Good TV directors always included a lot of garbage time, which was extra things to make the exact runtime that a show needed to be. And this was different for different running times, etc. This was for television format on commercial TV for the big 3 or the big 4, including Fox, etc. Right? That's how you would do it. What it seems that Disney Star Wars or Lucasfilm is doing is they're including garbage time in the actual show. You could take any episode of any of the Star Wars series and you could cut out the garbage time where you need to know the geography. And I guarantee you, if you want to learn editing, take any of the episodes of Ahsoka we've seen so far and cut out the nonsense. There's also a direction that is sadly missing, which is faster, more intense. Where's the intensity? Where are the actors emoting, saying something that makes you feel a sense of urgency and real dread and doom that characters that we love are in peril? There's a really simple scene in the original Star Wars film. It takes place in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. And all it is Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Obi-Wan Kenobi yelling at each other. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi's actually not yelling. And they're yelling about, like, we've got to escape this, Imperial starship is chasing us. We've got to jump to hyperspace. Han Solo has to explain to him how hyperspace works. There's feels like there's real drama and stakes. I don't feel that any of the lines of dialogue that are being delivered in this show have any sense of urgency or drama. It's flat. And I think part of it is it's the directing and the acting, acting, and the writing. Well, I don't blame the actors so much because they're directed to act that way. If they were directed to act differently, they would act differently. So I think really between the directing and the writing is really what's weakened these shows. And if you want to learn editing, take one of these episodes, cut out the garbage time, cut to the chase. Where do you think that phrase came from? Cut to the chase. I don't know. Did it come from film editing? I actually don't know the origin of the term cut to the chase.
It probably did.
Do me a favor, Star Wars. I'd rather see a 20-minute episode that makes me so excited. I need to see what happens next. I need to be left on a cliffhanger where I'm like, oh my God, is this what's going to happen to our characters? Cut out the garbage time. Garbage time was for a different era of television, which I'm going to echo what you said, Alan. Disney does not know how to do TV.
A freaking IKEA chair.
All right, so let's get into spoilers.
Actually, let me respond to that in this way.
All right.
The problem with Disney Star Wars is there are no rules. 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 You know, the Force now has no rules. It's just the ability to anticipate, to move objects with your hands, to get lucky, so to speak. What is the Force? We talked about this with the Mandalorian. Sabine is a Mandalorian. So what? How does being a Mandalorian influence her character? Why is it? What is it about a Mandalorian that makes her a unique character? When we watched The Mandalorian season 3, no one could define what a Mandalorian was except people who are outcasted and wear helmets. And the big rule there is don't take off your helmet. There's no rules there. The Jedi have no rules. What does it mean even now to be a Jedi? You know, what is a Jedi? They talk about it. They're people, I guess, who have the Force, whatever that is. There are no rules. And then lastly, physics has no rules in this show. And I'll point you to the dogfight. You know, they're flying along. Sabine fires her cannons. Boom, she hits a ship. Done. But when Ahsoka is on the ship, deflecting laser beams with her lightsaber, there's a moment where she runs across the wing, and the lasers from the other ships hits the wing of the ship and does nothing to the ship itself. It just as if someone had just shot a pea shooter at the ship. There are no rules in this game. The rules only exist to move the narrative along. Right. But the thing that a story needs are rules, these constraints, the ability of characters to have weaknesses in a movie, to overcome these constraints in order to tell a more compelling story. Because right now anyone can have the Force. You know, anyone can defeat the bad guys because they're lucky or they can. Anyone can do anything in this series. There's no rules to anything other than you're bad, you're good, and I need to overcome my weaknesses in order to be a better leader, so to speak.
Well, speaking of cannons, you mentioned cannons earlier. How about these?
Yeah, even the Star Wars music had rules, but it, you know, it's the weird thing is Star Wars is the only film franchise I can think of where characters had memorable soundtracks behind them, and now they don't. You know, we all know Princess Leia's theme, we all know Darth Vader's theme, we all know the main theme. You know, it's a lost art now in orchestration and movie scores.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Let's wow. It's much smaller than it looks.
That's what she said.
All right. Let's get into
okay.
What?
Okay.
Let's get into now some Ahsoka spoilers. So pre-spoiler discussion. Do we even care at this point? Okay. One, I do have a question about something.
Yeah.
I have a question about something in particular. How does Hera have a young child that doesn't look like Hera? Is it an adopted child? Did I miss something in Rebels? So she has a son that approaches General Hera, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's a Twi'lek. She's a Twi'lek general who has just a human son that has a little green hair. What happened there?
Yeah, she is the half human son of Kanan, which I believe is the Freddie Prinze Jr. character.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know. I felt the same.
No one explained this to me because I didn't watch Rebels. How much stuff is going to depend on my having watched Rebels?
That's my point. You need to have seen Rebels to understand the show. But thankfully, you don't need to have seen Star Wars to understand this show.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that they refer to episodes 4, 5, and 6 as the Great War should say everything. You know, you don't need it. You don't need old Star Wars to know this one because it was the Great War.
Right. So, all right. Alan, in terms of spoiler talk, are there any other things you'd like to bring up? I brought up a couple of points. I again, my prediction is that this story of Ahsoka is going to end with the introduction of Thrawn with no conflicts resolved, leading to an event type film that Dave Filoni is set to direct, which will connect all of the characters. It's all hands on deck for all the characters for a Star Wars movie that will be in theaters, which is going to be dependent on you having seen Ahsoka, having seen Boba Fett, having seen Mandalorian season 1, 2, and 3, having seen, I guess you don't need to see Kenobi, having seen Rebels and the Clone Wars. That's all you need to do to see this movie that is coming soon from Lucasfilm, if it ever gets made. But Alan, what are your thoughts?
In terms of, this is how great the show is. I'm looking at spoilers, so to speak, and I just don't care. I think the most significant thing was there are whales in space.
That was the thing I was going to get to. These are space whales that somehow are able to hyperspace. I think it's an incredibly dumb idea, which is why you didn't see it in the movies. See, I don't mind, look, I only care about what happens in the films. I only care about what happens in the films. Everything else is fine. The extended universe, the comic books, the shows for children, the cartoon shows for kids. I don't care about that stuff. It's fine. You know what you can do? You can mine that other stuff for good ideas. And I think that's all it's good for. It's like development and, there's some interesting ideas here. But we're going to pivot now to super chats because my buddy Az from Heel versus Babyface for 20 pounds. That is like actual money. Oh my God. Thank you, Az. Love Az. Love watching. The Real BBC is appointment television for me. I'd like to be on the Real BBC one day when appropriate, just because I could talk about a lot of the British things that Gary doesn't know anything about, like Red Dwarf or I, Claudius, or, well, we all know about Monty Python. But
don't you need a stack of comic books to be on that show, though?
Well, that's true. I should be bagging comic books. But there are so many British shows that I've loved. I actually just got I, Claudius on Blu-ray, starring, I'm positive I'm pronouncing this wrong. Is it Derek Jacobi or Derek Jacobi? I will be corrected.
I think it's Jacobi. I'm pretty sure it's
Jacobi. In any case, I, Claudius, that show blew me away.
Yeah.
I've rewatched it many times and got the Blu-ray recently. But Heel versus Babyface for 20 pounds says, you need to have watched Rebels, but you don't have to have watched Star Wars. Really well said, Alan. Well, there you go. Yeah. Thank you, Az. Love Az.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're just replacing iconic moments of Star Wars for Disney Star Wars here.
Interesting. You're right. Like the training scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, first pronunciation. So Jacobi.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Az. That's awesome. Very generous. And I don't know. I just appreciate Az.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have fun hanging out with Gary next week. I'm going to follow all your adventures. Some more chat comments and questions here. Alan, Circle of Iron 1978 is the original concept for Bruce Lee's Warrior. It was Bruce's dream project. Old film is fun if you have the time.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about Warriors, that's essentially my family's history of coming to America.
Wow.
Except we came at the turn of the century, not before it. But yeah. But we definitely, my father grew up in San Francisco. Okay, keep going.
Stubble McShave for 50 Swedish krona. When it comes to gravitas, I think it's important with perceived life experience. It's not limited to men. Someone like Helen Mirren could deliver it. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I didn't say all women, just for the most part, what's missing is men with gravitas in the show. And I think, I don't know, there's the character that they busted out of jail. She's not that good. It's not that good on Ahsoka. What is the name of that character?
Trying to remember. Are you talking about Ray Stevenson's character?
Not Ray Stevenson's character.
Who are you talking about? The witch?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And we'll talk about this on Friday, but just because you act tough doesn't mean you have gravitas.
Right. Another super chat here from Ministry of Wrongthink for 999. Like Alan said, Disney world building like the train tracks shooting out under the train from the Gumby show. Only what is needed for a specific time appears/remains when the train plot is there. Here's the other thing that really struck me about all this is, and thank you for Ministry of Wrongthink. Why do I care? I feel like I was so much more invested in because story is character, right? Story is character. And when you look at the original Star Wars or other Star Wars films, they are motivated by the needs/goals of the character.
Mm-hmm.
So ads, you're being way too generous here. I have to go to this super chat from Az. Heel versus Babyface, as for 20 pounds proper money, as Gary would say. And I also have to thank Az for all of your support with Attack of the Doc, and you drop mentions of it every once in a while, and I always see a bump in sales. And by the way, if the sales are on pace, the Blu-ray is going to sell out in the next couple weeks.
Awesome.
It will be sold out. I'll have to do another run of Blu-rays. If there's enough interest, I will. But if you don't get your Blu-ray in the next probably couple weeks, we're going to sell out of copies of it. So thank you, Az. I liked how Sabine, Az goes on to say, I like how Sabine was trained to become a samurai. If only Star Wars had an order of knights of sorts that could have symbolically taken that role instead. Oh, well, maybe one day they'll think of one. Yeah.
Did you notice? But when she was being trained, and I'm using this term literally. They use Oriental music to.
Yes.
And this is the first time love being Asian, blah blah blah. But this is the first time I've seen them inject culture into Star Wars, and it bothered me a whole lot. That was the whole point of Star Wars. It was a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago. So there is no culture. And that was kind of the point. Your race, the Star Wars should not be bogged down by current cultural hangups. And by doing this, Sabine Wren, I mean, how Asian is that name? And then also Hu Yang, how Asian is that name? At least when George Lucas put an Asian in the movie, he gave them a unique name, Newt Gunray. I mean, at least he did that. And so, look, I'm glad they're bringing Asians into Star Wars, but this is just a little too on the nose.
I've never loved a man more than I love Alan right now.
You and 100 other men.
Thank you, Az, for that. Yes, and names too, says Az. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Az. It feels weird to have Az watching the show, because I watch Az all the time. So yeah. Now I feel like I got to be funny, or at least interesting. Liz D says that's offensive. That's offensive. Yeah. Mike Latoris. Wait, Alan, could you? Mike Latoris for 5 says Hera's son being force sensitive is meaningless since all roads lead to failure. Dirtbag Jake Skywalker. Biggest problem in all of Star Wars now, inescapable. It's really interesting because how do we know that Hera's son wasn't at the academy and murdered by everybody? Murdered when Luke tried to start an academy and then got sad and went on an island. Thank you, Mike.
I think you mean Jack Skywalker.
Jake Skywalker. Mr. Popo says Chris has been hitting the nail every time. Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Ruben Diaz says Chris, directors filmed what was scripted and they edited to fit the time. There's no such thing as garbage time. In a good script, you just have to cut things for time. No, they'll add garbage time. They'll say, well, we need an establishing shot here. Mm-hmm. They'll add garbage time. they'll add it to fit.
Law and Order was famous for that, by the way.
Law and Order was famous for stuff like that. So they just film it as, yes, they film as scripted, but they'll add stuff. They'll add establishing shots, and we got to show where we are geographically. So there you go. Brevity is the soul of wit. You see the problem here, says RMFX. And Ghost Beetle says, hail all. I love you all. No, really, even you.
Oh,
there you go. All right. We're going to continue our discussion.
By
We have
the
a
way,
special guest.
There's a Rumble Rant here.
Rumble Rant. Where is that? Rumble Rant. Occupant 42 supporter +5. Thank you for that. The only important thing to them is that you must be subscribed to Disney Plus to watch Ahsoka. Well, there you go. Well, we're going to leave it at that for the moment. I'll just say this real quick. I'm going to be at Dragon Con this weekend. I'll be at the Pulse Bar at the Marriott on Friday, and I'll be at a panel at 4 p.m. on Saturday. It is the panel. What's the panel? Technique versus something. Anyways, yeah. But we're going to pivot away from that because I actually have to get on a flight. Technique versus content, Dragon Con panel, Saturday, September 2nd at 4 p.m. in panel room C at the Hyatt. Look for me there. Follow me on social media for more of that. But we're gonna table our Ahsoka conversation for now. Join us next Wednesday. We'll talk Ahsoka. On Friday, we're going to talk Equalizer 3. We're going to talk the Metalocalypse movie, which I have seen. Alan's going to talk. We've got other indie movies we're going to discuss, but we have another film, a filmmaker we're going to be talking to here as we wrap up the show. We are being joined by director Ray Spivey, who is the director of the film. Is it in the Alan, did you look at the planning sheet?
We talked about this earlier today.
Well, it's something you could do while look, I talk so much on the show. You need to check that every week. Is you check the planning document for what we're discussing. It's a little inside baseball. We have this plan. It's basically a Google Doc that has a date and what we're talking about. And what Alan has to do is cut and paste from that and create a banner so that we can put it here so that Ms. Peak Coffee can make a little thing there.
Yes. And you gave me some, and I thank you for the audio equipment you gave me. If it weren't for the fact that it crashed my system and I couldn't get in time. So.
Oh, that's okay. But what I would have suggested is that you test the equipment before just setting it up.
I tested yesterday.
No, it
was working yesterday.
This has turned into a lover's quarrel at this stage. It has turned into a quarrel. All right. We're going to bring Ray out in just a second. A quick bonus review. I actually paid to see this, and it is hysterical. It is so gory and bloody and over the top. I was bursting out laughing. What I love about it, the girl that's in it, she's completely naked, and she's super hot too. And she's naked in the movie. There's also in this movie zombies. Strongly recommend it. Whoa. Hey, joining us on the Film Threats Hollywood on the Rocks today on a Wednesday afternoon. Well, it's afternoon for Alan and I. Is director Ray Spivey, whose film Storage Locker is it out now, Ray?
Yeah, it is, Chris.
Oh, that's great. First of all, thank you for joining us on the show. One of the things we like to do here on Film Threat is to champion independent film, let people know about indie movies that are coming out on video on demand. Is it on VOD right now?
It is.
Awesome. Tell us the story of Storage Locker.
Basically, we have a young comic book collector in his 20s who is seeking the holy grail of comics, Atomic Fiction number 15. Might sound familiar to some of you comic fans. and he meets these two mysterious sisters that run a storage facility. Through some circumstances, he has to store his books in a hurry, and he gets more and more involved in their business, in which they run kind of a collector society, but they kind of do more things like illegal antiques, higher end items, and he gets drawn deeper and deeper into it. And eventually, one of the sisters is a very crappy witch, not very good, and she's got kind of a little demon boy going, and it's one of those spells that went awry.
So it's a horror film involving a comic book collector. Was Atomic? What was it? What would you say it was? Atomic
Fiction 15.
Okay, that might be Amazing Fantasy number 15.
It could be.
Guess.
It could be.
It could
yeah.
be. All right. Well, I have to ask
Let's not
first.
spoil it right now. Yeah.
Now,
Speculate.
are you a comic book collector yourself?
I was as a kid. Now, I have not been so as an adult, but my best friend managed to put together a near mint collection of Spider-Man a few years ago, and he sold it, which breaks his heart every day. But a lot of the story I gained from his pains and suffering of acquiring the collection and then letting it go.
I like how your character, in the beginning of the movie, he gets robbed trying to buy that issue, and in doing so lost all his honeymoon money. And and I like how relatable that story is.
Yeah, I've seen him, and I know of other collectors. The desperation, you will walk into any kind of Craigslist trap or whatever. You'll go to dubious places to get what you want.
How did you? First of all, we have questions from people watching. Got over 1,000 people watching live. Post your questions for Ray in right here in the chat. We'll highlight some of the best ones. But real quick, this is the number one question. Whenever I do a panel on indie film or whenever I talk to indie filmmakers, there's one question they always ask: how did you get the money to make this movie?
I used my savings. And I had two friends that were investors this time. So I took a big gamble here. Okay.
Well, it's not always recommended
I
that
know.
you spend the savings, but that's better than, it's better than spending or actually charging money up on credit cards. One of the things, I did a calculation once that if you put $30,000 on credit cards, which that's enough to make a very small indie movie, but you could make it, and you only paid the minimum, it would take you 30 years to pay it off and cost about $100,000.
That's right.
So you'd be better off borrowing $30,000 from the mafia or going to the racetrack and betting on horses than putting. So I never recommend, whatever you do as a filmmaker, do not under any circumstance charge credit cards. Use credit for convenience, not to borrow money. So you're actually smart to get an investor from your friend.
And I didn't use honeymoon money, which is critical.
Well, there you go. We've got some questions here from our chat. So let's get right to it. I love De Cruz says, I love the messy bookshelf in the background. That's a proper bookshelf.
It's the real thing. I think there's not much memorabilia behind it. I think there's a Maltese Falcon back there, and an actual pack of Lucky Strikes from the 70s that were my dad's. I was cleaning out my mom's house when she passed away, and I couldn't believe there was a whole carton of those lethal cancer sticks.
Oh, man. Well, you could say that it's a prop from Mad Men.
That's right. And one of my friends who's a Mad Men fan took it to a fan party.
Another question here from Greasy Guido S. What inspired the storage locker setting? Sounds like a great atmosphere.
That is us. Unfortunately, throughout my life, I've stored tons of stuff in various storage lockers, and most of them have had those motion lights, and they only last about 5 minutes, and you find yourself in the dark, and like an idiot, you're out there waving your hands. And I thought, well, what if they weren't to come out on? What if they never came back on? And what the heck could be back there? And it just kind of, the movie idea just kind of went on from there.
Here you go. Death Saw asks, question: what did the director think about fusing comics and movies together in his experience overall? You're obviously a comic book fan.
Big time fan. I used to collect them when my dad was stationed over in Germany. We only had DC back then and didn't see Marvels, but we would run up and down these 4-story flight of stairs in these apartments, just knocking on doors, asking kids, "Do you have any comic books you can trade?" And I remember later, I was in a barber shop and I actually picked up a copy of Avengers #4, first appearance of Captain Marvel, Captain America, in the Silver, forgive me, but in the Silver Age, and it was right there. Anybody could pick it up and read it right there at the barber stand. But yeah, I've always loved comics.
Yeah, comics for me was an addiction. I mean, first of all, it was a great motivator because when I was a kid, well, I needed money to buy comic books. How did I get money? Mowing lawns. I had a newspaper route when I was 9 years old that I had for 10 years. Through the age of 19, I was in college delivering newspapers. So there you go.
Yeah, you also brought it up in the movie, but the joy and the thrill of filling in missing gaps in your comic book collection.
No, dude, I had the checklist. I had the price guide. Remember the price guide?
Yes.
I remember just like looking at the paintings on the cover of the price guide. They put some original painting a lot of times, and it was just like that was an era where, like nerd culture now, I think has become very corporate. That's why I think there's sort of this divide between the corporate culture of nerd culture, which to me is represented by the current day Marvel and Star Wars, made by Disney, a large mega corporation, and the original creative ventures, which were made and created by individuals like Stan Lee, George Lucas, et al., Jack Kirby, among others. You could go on and on. But that is really where I think the divide is. But that time you're filling in the gaps. You're like, and I used to do you remember buying the giant size comics where they would do reprints because I couldn't afford the original comics, but they do a giant size Fantastic Four. And I would read all the early until I had read the first 100 issues of Fantastic Four, which was the Kirby and Lee run.
The greatest, the greatest.
Amazing. Let's got a lot more questions here, so let's go through. Adel from Rumble, Adel24. How did Ray get his start in indie filmmaking? Was he working in the industry prior to writing his debut feature?
Well, I'm a little bit of an artist, and back in '96, I was contacted by Chris Guest's group here in Austin. They were filming his first mockumentary after Spinal Tap. It was called Waiting for Guffman, and they had seen some of my artwork and commissioned me to paint a painting that shows up in the first 5 minutes of the film. It's about the town founder fighting a bear, which is kind of a little bit like The Simpsons was back then, and basically it was about the guy who founded this town, fictional town in Minnesota. So it was a lot of fun. Got to meet Chris. He approved the painting, and that was my 5 seconds of fame back then.
You did the painting?
Yeah, I did the painting. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was just unbelievable. It happened like that. So got to go to the premiere. Met Fred Willard. It was just amazing. So all this time passes by, and I had done a couple documentaries here in Austin. Took a screenwriting class, and did a first feature called Writer's Block. We did do some crowdfunding on that one. It went fairly well. We sold it, we were amazed, and that was great success for our first film. But did a lot of bad mistakes on the film. We didn't even know what we were doing on the film set. I'd never been on a film set other than the Chris Guest one before. So goes on, made a few short films during the pandemic, and then came Storage Locker.
Nice.
I need to ask you because storage, the quality of Storage Locker is, I would say, a couple levels above the DIY micro budget films we get. What was that journey like? And do you have any advice for people who kind of want to get to the level that at least Storage Locker is at from a production standpoint?
Thanks. Great crew, first of all. And our lighting guy, Mike Gonzalez, is a genius. He's worked on several larger pictures early in his career. The lighting and the cinematography got to be there. But the locations, we were very, very lucky to get some special locations. For example, the subterranean basement in Storage Locker is actually the state of Texas's former biohazardous waste site. So it freaked the actors out pretty badly. But so we got all that spooky atmosphere down there. A lot of it was dust. We blew a smoke machine, but it gave you those effects that, oh my God, these people are in real danger. Got access to the state capitol vault in the bottom. So there's a quick shot of this gigantic 15-foot, 5 feet thick vault door that leads into the locker. We just really try to use every location we could to really make the location stand out.
Yeah, I
Another
mean, I think
question.
I'll just say a lot of cities and towns have locations available for filmmaking that if you knew they were there, it does nothing but inspire you in terms of telling a story.
Thanks.
Another question here. JTPRX, who's a member, says, what do you think of the current DC films, the DCEU? What do you think of the DC movies coming out? You're a comic fan. You're a comic fan.
I know. I sure hope they can turn it around. I just watched The Flash the other night, and you could see where it's kind of missing, and they're not up to the Marvel status of what Marvel had been, especially in their first phase 1, phase 2. And it just seems to be just one thing I'll tell you about, like in Civil War, Captain America Civil War, you look at some of those fight scenes, they are the best choreographed fight scenes I've ever seen. And you look at DC and you get the traditional superhero jumping down, landing on one knee, and everything's in slow motion. I just think they've got to get out of that, because the kids, the adults, everybody, they want this thing to be faster. And I think we're all so used to things like John Wick and everything. We want to see these amazing fight scenes. And of course, always the character development tends to be a lot better on the Marvel side right now. But I'm hoping Gunn can change a lot of that.
Yeah. More questions here from Rumble. Aid Ellis 24 asks, has Ray seen a lot of growth in the Austin filmmaking scene beyond Linklater and Rodriguez, who originally put it on the map? Is it easier to film in Texas now compared to even a decade ago?
I think it is. We have a lot more active community now, a lot of great talent that hasn't been discovered yet for indies. Then if we want to go a little outside of Austin, east of us, there's a little town called Bastrop, which is kind of turned into a film center. So there you have use of all sorts of resources like the courthouse, various stores. If you want to go back in time, that center part of town looks like you're back in the 1920s, So, but in Austin, we're seeing a ton of studios start to develop. I think they're getting ready to build a major, huge studio south of town. So it's really gotten much, much better.
Gotcha. And another question here from Immortal Remus says, how did you go about assembling the cast and crew?
I'd used a lot of those people before, and they were amazing. I tend to use word of mouth. I don't really like to audition that much. I really want to know somebody that knows somebody as an actor or crew member, so they work. And so Mike Gassaway, who played the twins, George and Harry Fisk, has been with me before for a long time. Bobby Grace, who played Apollonia, is an amazing actor. Just fantastic to have work with her. And I plug friends in whenever you can. I remember Martin Scorsese said this very early in his career. If you didn't have a situation where you could get a lot of people and didn't have the money to hire people, see which friends of yours have those characteristics of that character, give them a couple lines and give them a shot.
Well, also, the two things. You're very lucky you live in Austin, Texas, because there's a huge filmmaking community there. That's where South by Southwest Film Festival takes place. It's one of the most important film festivals for indies. And there's a big filmmaking community. I found it to be very supportive. So that's a help. The other thing is the internet. Using the internet to just find like-minded people to help you with your projects is very useful, very helpful. So, just to throw out a piece of advice for anyone that's curious. And a last question here as we wrap up from Solomon Thornton says, greetings, Sir Ray. Any advice for beginning filmmakers? Very good question.
I was listening to, or actually, I think I read this in Barry, I'm going to forget his last name. Barry was the cameraman for the Coen brothers very early. And he pointed out that when the Coens did a film, they started on Thursday, so that if any of the crew or actors didn't work out, they could fire them on Friday and have all weekend to look for replacements, which I thought was just a great piece of advice. But you're going to run into some people that just aren't going to fit in with you, and you have to realize pretty quick, make those decisions. Like, are they going to get you through the film, or are they going to bring everybody else down? The main thing is I try to do is hire very, very positive people, and ones that basically don't have personality disorders. They're not too high on themselves as actors. They're very humble people. That might be one of the most important things I could tell you.
Wow. That's a really good piece of advice. The other thing is, I would say, like, hire your brother. I mean, is it just me, or do Alan and Ray look a lot alike? Look at these.
There you go. He's a good looking guy.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I could do anything. I can cook. I could do laundry. I could build a railroad. So,
well,
yeah, I'm right there.
Alan, we're working on the new film right now with Alan Danziger, who was in Storage Locker, the original cast member from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in '74. We're looking for some help. If you want to come down to Austin for a couple weeks, let us know. We'll put you up.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Well, if you need a white guy with white hair.
Do we lose Chris? All right,
No,
it's our show now.
Oh,
Okay,
I was just joking around. I'm saying you guys look so much alike. It's kind of cool. You could be brothers.
By the way, I think there are white guys with white hair in Austin. So.
Oh, they probably are. But Ray, thank you for joining us on the show today. Congratulations on the film Storage Locker. It's comic book themed, so check it out. To everyone in the chat today, Ray, congrats on the film. Good to see you.
Same here. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. All right. And that's going to about wrap it up for us today. What are we doing here? As I'm on a plane, I got a car coming to pick me up in an hour and a half. Gonna head to the airport, courtesy of Mike MC Wong Car Service. Appreciate him. And I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to my co-conspirator, Alan Ng. Thank you to Ms. Pete Coffee. Thank you to our mods today, Lord Thoth and Gridiron Masters, and
Bill that's Gridiron, by the way.
Gridiron Masters. What am I saying? Gridiron Masters. And Bill S. Preston Esquire says, build a railroad. OMG. What was that comment all about? I want to thank all of you in the chat. You know, our audience continues to grow. I appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. On Friday, film reviews of movies playing in theaters. I'm going to have a review of the Metalocalypse movie. Alan will create all the little captions in advance before we start the show, because he will have read the planning document, which it says Film Threat YouTube Content Planning 2023, which is
let me write that down.
And add any other films that we'll cover here.
The Equalizer, that's the big one.
The Equalizer 3. I'm saving it for Friday. We're going to discuss it. So there you go. So thank you for spending your afternoon, evening with us. I wanted a little shout out to Az too. I can't believe he watches the show. I'm just I'm touched. I'm very touched that he watches the show. And want to say thank you to all the people that stick with us, even when we're talking about something that, I feel like when it comes to Star Wars, we're kind of commiserating at this point. We're not even really at this point, it's almost like therapy to discuss it.
Oh no, dear. Do not play with matches. You might hurt yourself. Here, play with a saber. It's much safer.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you to everyone. Alan?
Let's get out of here.